I appreciate the use of that.
Well, where's that? It's over there.
Yeah, it's kind of long. You can surprise. Hi, let's see. Which chairs are not taking?
Corner, both corners. Both this corner.
Just
This
take,
is good.
okay.
Oh, that's you. The two books we'll put back in our, yeah, you have these already. You don't have that one? But I'll put this back into the. Say, Pete?
Hi.
I don't have one.
I probably don't want to leave it on, but it's just so cute.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, she was 13 pounds last time I weighed her. She's probably more now. That's been over a week ago, probably 2 weeks.
Thank you.
Yep, I did actually remember to pull it out and put it on her on Easter. I was rather impressed with myself that I actually remembered this.
Good afternoon, everyone. Had a beautiful day outside. Wind wasn't too bad, sun was shining. In the rain yesterday, you can thank me or curse me, either way. I'm sure it was my fault. I did wash my car. Guys, and do the pledge, please. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll do the mission. The mission of
The
the
Toastmasters Club is to provide a mutually supportive and positive learning environment in which every individual member has the opportunity to education and leadership skills, which in turn foster self-confidence and personal growth.
Thank you. You can be seated.
I think she tried to quote the.
Yeah. And this week is also volunteer week, and I'd just like to say thank you to everyone, because we all volunteer our time and our talents to be here, and thank you especially to Pete and Jim for your leadership and making us all better speakers and better people, so thank you very much. I was hoping Suella would be here so we could officially induct her into Toastmasters. She's not here, so we will do that whenever she is available at our next meeting. Jim, as our current area governor and secretary, do you have anything to add?
Just a very brief announcement. I received notice yesterday that starting in 2015, we will have, I believe it will still be called a district, well, the district governor will become the district director. And then each of the titles will be better descriptors. The person in charge of marketing will be called the marketing director. These are pretty obvious changes. And my position of area governor will be simply a district, and get the right word, a district director. So you've got let's see, the very top will be it's kind of an interesting, and it does clarify a lot.
All right.
That's all I have.
Thank you, Jim. And Jim actually will be heading to the district contest in Bismarck next week.
Yeah, convention.
Yep, convention, that'll be nice. And then I look forward to the week after that. You can tell us all about it.
And next Thursday afternoon from 3 to 6 is the display at EPEC. The job fair will be taking place. And I'll set up a booth. Anybody wants to laptop and Toastmaster magazines and that type of thing.
Very good. Thank you for being here. Pete? next Thursday, or are you gonna be able to make it? Okay, so you'll be in charge of Melanie, Alan, and Bridget in the meeting. Okay. And do you have anything business-wise to add before I let you lead us as Toastmaster today?
I should probably clarify for the members present and for the, maybe even for the minutes too, that the one job in Toastmasters that has to change every year is the president. You get to be that once. And so even though I'm sure people would like Donna to have that job forever, she cannot. And so the other jobs, you can do for, until you learn them, which is why I'm staying on as Vice President of Education at least another year. But that one has to change. So just wanted people to know.
And if anyone's interested in being the president, Pete, it's a fun learning experience. All right, Pete, you are our Toastmaster today. Everybody please welcome Pete Bruno.
Thank you very much. Well, welcome to another fun-filled meeting. So I get to be Toastmaster, and I don't know if Mark got my phone message, but he's to be General Evaluator, and we both have a copy of the same agenda, so we may be able to muddle through just fine on that. And we have Rochelle giving us speeches. So first I want to welcome Stacy back and thank her for the chapstick. Stacy is one of the busiest and friendliest people you will ever meet, passing out chapsticks at community concerts and doing prize drawings and all of that sort of stuff. She really gives her all for this hospital. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and make sure that Mark knows that Donna's going to operate as his timer, and Jim is his wag. And so Mark, this is your part to go ahead and if you want the timer to explain their job, and if you want your word of the day, it's your job to go ahead and get those folks to do their things.
Okey doke.
So you can do it from right there.
I can. Well,
Okay.
would it be okay if I went up there instead?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I wanted to, excuse me, I wanted to find out now who the speakers are. I want to find out who the evaluators are, or, we're gonna have, I wanted to, Stacy is one of the speakers, and who else is the speaker?
Alan
Oh, yeah,
and
okay.
Rochelle. And so you're gonna get them evaluators, are you?
Yes,
I'll be evaluating Stacy's.
okay. And who would like to evaluate?
Can you just tell me that I will do?
And then is Ellen, have you got someone you'd like to evaluate for you?
I guess
I can do that.
I guess I'm doing one of the better speaking series, and so I guess a generic
Okay,
evaluation sheet would be appropriate.
okay.
Thank you.
So I'm just going to go through this again. The evaluators will be, Peggy will be for Stacy, and Melody for Rochelle, and Pete for Alan. And our speakers will be Stacy, Ellen, and Rochelle, of course. And as far as the evaluators go, I was wondering if, well, forgive me, I'm not in too good a shape today. I helped a lady move here the last few days. Had quite a time of it, but anyway, I know some of the knowledge of how to evaluate and things, you know, might be as, you know, pronounced to some people as others. And, but the idea is to, you know, try to help people become better speakers and be helpful and positive, maintain a positive state of mind, and also try to be objective too and give them some guidelines or some point of show improvement. So
Thank you, Mark.
yeah,
Thank you very much. Okay, so Donna will be our timer. I think the speeches are all 5 to 7. I'll correct as long as we go along. And welcome Virginia with a brand new haircut, looks like.
Yes.
Yeah, it looks good, ready for summer. And so Jim's got the word of the day. I like it because it starts with the word German.
Thank you, Pete. The word of the day is germane. And it's closely or significantly related. It's relevant, pertinent. And the example I used, the comments made were germane to the conversation. We have a rigmarole here to get this set up, but it's going to work. Like that.
Thank you very much, Jim. And being germane, since Virginia showed up to evaluate a speech, I'll get her to do Alan's. Okay.
I need a pencil.
Oh, and you need pencil.
Or a pen.
Okay, as well.
She's covered.
Pass those around. Okay, good. So let's get off to a stellar meeting with Stacy giving us her second speech. Can you hear me now? The evolution of the cell phone.
Well, welcome back is an important thing to say. You're at a second speech, and my fourth meeting. So as Pete said, my speech is on the evolution. Can you hear me now? The evolution of the cell phone. Do you all remember the first time you saw somebody speaking on a cell phone, detached from the wall? Do you remember your first cell phone? When I started to ponder the same question, I began to wonder. My earliest memory was with a cell phone. So I did what every girl does. I called my dad. When did you first get your first cell phone? Mid-80s, he said. That was a question. Well, I was born in 1983. Back then, cell phones were luxury items. My dad owns a trucking business. It's by no means luxury, but the means to make money. I was born in 83, as I told you. So cell phones are very, very consistent with me within my childhood. Today, there are 2 cell phones for every second person. So that's 3.3 billion people. So every 2 people, there is 1 cell phone. That means little babies amongst that are having phones, the small things. So from a phone being an anomaly has now become an actual thing of day-to-day use. Does anyone have their phone here today? Does anybody not have their phone here today? But you have one. There's three basic things that I think has really evolved within the evolution of cell phone. Their design, their functionality and compatibility of what they can do, as well as the social acceptance of what they are today. The significant changes are affected within our day-to-day lives aspect. For me, within my life, Pete called me yesterday. I was on my cell phone while driving. Maybe not the safest thing, but I was able to get your call. Had he called my work phone, I may have not got it till today. So, literally, as you can see, the cell phone has evolved from a brick to slick. Who would carry that lug around? It went from an oversized luxury item to a compact computer in less than 20 years. The first cell phone was in 1983. There it is for people of my generation. You may remember it's the Zach Morris phone from Saved by the Bell. The original phone weighed 28 ounces. Today, my phone weighs 4.8. Slightly less strong than arm as well. It went from 12 keys to no keys, to a touchstone to an iPhone within a flash. The average cell phone user has 3 unconnected phones within their at home. They have 3 phones at their house that they're not using. I thought that was bizarre. It did not take me 3. This was within 3 years and not including lost phones. Can you all think the same? Do you think you have? I didn't think I did. And I think I have more than this. These are just mine. But as you can see, within 3 years, they've all changed in design. 2 being Apple phones on top of it. Secondly is the functionality and what they do. The original phone calls like a radio. My dad said the first ones you could actually hear the whole conversation. It was similar to a walkie-talkie. Now you play games with your friends. You don't need an atlas. You can map it. You have a friend Surrey, if ever you need one. See, anything you want to do, you can do from that one little phone within your pocket versus carrying that around. I brought this bag. For all of the things that I just said, you would need a Game Boy, a CD player, a camera, a video camera, which was much larger than Jim's back there. Can you imagine us carrying this around? I think it'd look good on you guys. This big bag just to get around in what we see as modern conveniences today. For the past 15 years, we've gone from a verbal communication from the phone to a nonverbal. We text. From Americans from 18 to 29, they receive 88 text messages a day. How many phone calls do you suppose? 17. 88 to 17. It's a pretty amazing number of text. We hope they all do it safely. Different speech. The acceptance of the cell phone has really changed. Going back to my dad, when he used to be able to come to my basketball games, YMCA, 25 years ago, I'm now 31, they thought it was, how dare he bring his phone, that he was there. But without the cell phone, he wouldn't have been able to be at my game. Now, you have to have it posted in doctor's office. Please don't be on your phone. Now, isn't that a social cue that we should all know? But we don't. Stories of that. My dad's included in that one too. With having a cell phone, we wouldn't accessory to accessorize our outfit, like a scarf or a pair of earrings. We bling it out, we calm them down. This is the younger generation, of course. We trade in our cell phones every 15 months for the newer, better model. Not that we're losing them or they don't work. It is a social tool if you don't have the newest gadget. Well, as you can see from here, they all worked and they all did their purpose. With all that said, Cell phones, whether you like it or not, they're a permanent fixture. A study showed that 83% of people thought that the cell phone was the most important invention. That is even ahead of the internet. Have our cell phone and be on the internet. Lastly, no matter the way you look at it, the cell phone is the greatest invention of all time. There is little question about it. The novelty has wore out and is part of us forever.
Thank you very much. So we have to add not only energetic and fun, but informative to your list of accomplishments as well.
Sorry for your word of the day.
Thanks.
I cringed when I saw you put it there.
We can be germane well, so because Jim thought he might be running just a little bit late. Well, I think next we'll go ahead and have Alan come and talk with us about taking the fear out of any table topics, how to go ahead and stand up and talk without any fear whatsoever. So Alan's asking for 4 to 6 minutes for this one, Donna. Alan, will you come and help us to be better speakers?
Imagine this, if you will. You are the newest employee of Microsoft. Wow, huge conglomerate. And CEO and founder of Microsoft has assembled all of his employees together. He actually invites you to come up and say a few words. Here you are. Bill Gates asks you to come up and address the crowd. Some people could be break your talk down into components or have some strategies in order to give a decent impromptu talk. It's not that difficult. First of all, you probably need to listen to what Mr. Gates has been telling you. And when he asks you to confirm what he has just said, and then start to give your talk. And at the end of it, just end it and sit back down to wherever you can maybe express an opinion. Like if you're giving a talk as a new employee at Microsoft, impromptu talk into several components, like maybe saying what you did in the past and at the present and what your hopes are for the future. Things like that. So those are some strategies that you can employ to give an impression. There are some other things that you probably should not do. And one of the first things is never apologize for your impromptu talk. People have the nerve to get up in front of them and talk. And if your impromptu talk doesn't go quite as smoothly as you're hoping to, never apologize for your faux pas or things we should be thanking you. And if your maybe you lose your train of thought. Don't regain it, but don't ramble on and on and on. And that could probably be one of the worst things you could possibly do with something that's not true about you. And at the very end, don't say thank you to the audience. The audience should be thanking you for coming up and giving the line. Impromptu talks aren't that difficult. Table topics aren't that difficult either. And so with that, I give the podium back to Pete.
Thank you for being. Alan was able to move around by making a great big outline. Well done, sir. Very well done indeed. Sorry. Okay, well, is it possible that I've lost Rochelle? No, I haven't. Oh boy, what a good one before table topics. So, Rochelle gives us this premise. Whether you're talking on the cell phone when you're pulled over by the interact with a law enforcement officer, and while she hopes all of your interactions will be positive, and times they're not positive. You maybe even have taken some interest in the TV show Cops, and you see how actions can escalate quickly. So if you ever find yourself in a situation with law enforcement, knowing Rochelle's going to give us a talk about your, quote, fairly important rights granted by the Fourth Amendment of the United States Constitution. Minutes.
Thank you.
Yay.
Thank you, Toastmaster Pete. Abraham Maslow was a human behaviorist. He was born in 1908, and he stated that the need for security comes right after your basic need for food, shelter, and clothing. So humans need to feel secure. When our forefathers were drafting the Constitution of the United States, they also felt that not only human beings, but effects, as stated in the Fourth Amendment of the Constitution. A lot of people don't know what their rights are when it comes to being pulled over. I hear almost every single day, well, you should care, because these rights were given to us by the Constitution of the United States, and if you freely just give them back, it discontinues being a right. If we give that away, one day we'll not be able to say it's our right to say, no, I don't think that you have a right to search my vehicle without my permission. I am a law-abiding citizen. I, if pulled over, would not, and was asked to please step out of my vehicle, so for the office, no, you don't have a reason, you don't have probable cause, and I will not allow you to search my vehicle. Basically, there's three levels of encounter is considered consensual. If a police officer knocks on your door and asks, earlier there was a fight going on, did you hear anything, did you see anything, question, you've answered it. The second level of encounter is called an investigative detention. Basically, at that, the questioning goes beyond, did you see anything, did you hear anything, into were you a part of, did you participate in, developed articulable reasonable suspicion, which means that officer has a hunch or based on his intuition, he believes that you are involved in a criminal activity. That's when you should start shaking a little bit because they can't reach that without knowing something. Maybe your neighbor who consented to a discussion with them said, yeah, and take the bike and put it in his backyard that I knew didn't belong to him. So somebody saw or heard or think did something and informed that officer. Or officers have a large network of informants, and sometimes informants are given larger leeway to give information that would lead to a bigger arrest or a bigger caller. The third level of encounter with a police officer is basically you're under arrest. At this point in time, you do not have permission to leave and they are detaining you. That is where the Fourth Amendment of the Constitution has been tried and tested since the beginning of the United States, basically. In 1968, there was a case before the Supreme Court, Terry v. Ohio. It was a landmark stop and frisk case. Basically, the Supreme Court was tasked with coming up with a test. What do police officers have to have in their possession before they can stop and frisk someone? And Mr. Terry was actually one man in a three-man group of people who were casing a jewelry store to rob. A police officer was in that neighborhood and noticed the three men. And they were acting suspicious. He had been a law enforcement officer for 39 years. 35 of those years were as a detective investigating those types of crimes. The men were acting suspicious, walking up and down the street, in and out of the jewelry store, and for a hot summer day, they were actually overdressed with, I believe one of them, Mr. Terry, was wearing a black leather coat. Well, those things gave the officer articulable, reasonable suspicion to question those three men. And that is what has become known as a Terry stop. An officer can walk up to you if you are a suspect in a crime or a crime about to happen or has had happened. An officer can pat you down. It's called a pat down. And if he feels anything that might be a weapon or might endanger his life, he can then take it out. If it's a gun, if it's a knife, it's whatever it is, anything that can be used to cause harm upon his person, he can enter that into evidence in a case against you, and it is considered good evidence. So that case basically established a stop and frisk. So if you're acting shady in a neighborhood that's known for high crime and you're not a usual person in that neighborhood, and like I said, you're acting suspicious, an officer can come up to you and ask you what you're doing there, and based on your reaction, your level of nervousness, if your eyes are darting, if you're getting kind of like you really want to get out of that situation, he can pat you down, and whatever he finds on you can be admitted into evidence against you. Always, of course, be polite and respectful to law enforcement officers, and know that what they request from you is simply that, a request. It's not an order. As part of that Terry versus Ohio, there are exclusionary rules. So anything that they obtain illegally or outside of that scope of articulable, reasonable suspicion basically can be thrown out of a case against you. And law enforcement officers don't like it. Judges don't like it. They want their stops to be good stops. They don't want law enforcement officers harassing law-abiding citizens. So they say, if you do this and it comes back that it was illegal, we're going to throw that case out. Not only are we going to throw it out, but you can get sanctioned and fined for it. So there are things in place to keep law enforcement officers honest, basically. So in closing, the essence of the Constitution is to prevent the government from intruding upon our lives, and it has given us the right to privacy. There have been Supreme Court cases that also give government the right to come in and search depending on certain, so it really is a balancing act. But it's very important to know your rights and not give up those rights unless you've been arrested. Thank you.
I believe all speeches were within limits, so you can send ballots down to Virginia for best speaker. And I just wonder, in your next encounter with law enforcement, will you be able to use what Rochelle taught you, plus use Alan's tips for being able to speak without fear? And Stacy's tip about, for goodness gracious sake, put down that cell phone. Okay, so while I prepare for our table topic speaker, Alan, did you get a joke ready for us today?
I do.
Oh, very good. If you come up and give the joke, I will ready for our solo table topic speaker. Thank you, Alan.
I attended the senior all-nighter committee, and after that, I went out to Albertsons to get a loaf of bread and a jug of milk. And I saw in the dairy aisle something about senior discount or senior savings or something like that. And I noticed that it said if you were 55 years or older, you get this discount. And I fit the 55. So actually, I guess I am a senior. And so these jokes I'm about to tell are germane to what I just mentioned. 10 games of old age. Number 1, SAG, you're it. Number 2, 20 questions shouted into your good ear. Number 3, kick the bucket instead of kick the can. Number 4, Red Rover, the nurse said bend over. Number 5, Doc Goose instead of Duck Goose. Number 6, Simon says something incoherent. Number 7, spin the bottle of Mylanta. Number 8, musical decliners. And number 9, probably the one that I appreciate the most and is probably most germane to this joke, pin the toupee on the bald guy.
Well, everybody else gets 2 minutes to give a speech called an evaluation that hasn't spoken already. And so let's go ahead and Jim, we will give you a table topic.
Mr. Table Topics presenter, if you could float in a hot air balloon over any city or place in the world, what would you choose to float over? Fellow Toastmasters. Although I've been there, stood there on at least 2 occasions, possibly 3, I'd like to float over Corcovado, in Rio de Janeiro, where the Christ stands on the mountaintop, Tijuca forest up there. I'd like to float over. It is unbelievable. You have about 2 or 3 million people living down below you. You have the shanty towns that are built on the mountainsides. The city of God literally is that area as identified just below there. It's probably one of the more spectacular sites in South America.
I don't think she got to do anything but business, so
I'm gonna give Donna a chance at a little speech too.
Thanks, Pete. If like the newspaper or milk, you could have anything of your choice delivered to your doorstep every morning, what particular item would you want it to be? First I'm thinking coffee, a nice flavored coffee sounds good. So I don't make coffee at home, I wait till I get to work, but then I think breakfast might be nice, a nice breakfast. But Dayton has got into making eggs, which has been quite an experience. It took about 4 eggs before he finally quit poking his fingers all the way through, but he's doing a very good job at making eggs and breakfast, which is nice. But yeah, I would think maybe a nice flavored coffee, maybe a caramel macchiato would be my choice.
Thank you very much.
So let's start with Peggy's evaluation, and Peggy, go for 2 minutes, shoot for that, please, with the lights.
Can you hear me now? One of the reasons I really like Toastmasters is look at our different talks today. We learned something really neat from everybody that we, you might not have known if you weren't doing the research on your own. So can you hear me now? I had no idea that cell phones were out since '83 because I didn't get mine till like the late '90s, and I used to travel a lot then, and I had to have an antenna. My family insisted I had an antenna on the car in order to get reception in northeastern Montana. But great graphics, well organized. You had the three basic things were the design, the function, and the social acceptance. So it flowed very well and used clever things like the brick to the slick. And also, you're right about, my gosh, we'd have to have a bag that big in order to carry all those things that now this little thing that fits in your back pocket can do. So I just thought it was very well what that was doing over there, because I don't know that you ever used it. But I thought maybe you should use your title somewhere in the starting or ending and say, can you hear me now?
I got nervous with that.
Yeah.
So everyone knows that the end of my speech, which I didn't finish, was now you can, if you miss the old phones, you can plug this into a new phone.
Oh,
And
that's
people
right.
walk down the. I didn't stand there and they can hear me.
But you saw the lights were working against you, right? Good job.
And you get panicked.
Okay,
Thank you.
time for you to give your 2-minute evaluation speech.
Uh-huh.
Okay, very
If you don't
good.
mind if I do it seated,
Not
it'll be
at
a
all.
little easier.
Okay.
All right. Rochelle, I really enjoyed your speech. I think you did an excellent job. It was a topic that was very relevant and germane to all of us as hopefully law-abiding citizens. But to know that is really useful, entertaining, since I'm married to a law enforcement officer. It's like, now I can have something I can tell back to him, and he'll just look at me like, yeah, and please. I think you researched it very well. The court cases and hearing about that, and the right to stop and frisk and how that works, and the levels of questioning, which I never really gave much thought to. I think being stopped at a traffic stop and what their rights are, is particularly with asking to search your car, just kind of tying that in to figure out, what you fall into and your rights as far as that goes, to say yes or no, and how that works, and maybe the consequences of doing so. The other thing I thought would have been really helpful is you referred to the 4th Amendment of the Constitution, which I remember has something to do with the right to not something, but if you had quoted that, I think it would have been really helpful in reminding us all, because I don't have those memorized. But otherwise, I think it was a great speech. You flowed very well, and you were able to really give us some good information. It was excellent. Thank you.
And Virginia, Val.
Yes, sir. Over these papers, and it's not as easy to do as with the book, to me anyway.
Excuse me.
And his speech was taking the fear out of the talk. And it says, as I saw you, you moved about and you had good hand gestures. You just kept moving here for a while and then over there for a while. So that was that part. And it says, as I heard you, impromptu talk is to be done without apologizing about a mistake you said. I thought that was interesting what he shared with us. Don't stand up and so you make a goofy mistake. Don't say anything about it, just go on and talk about what you plan to talk about anyway. And it says, voice variety. I think you did have a variety in your voice at times. It changed a little bit now and then. And it says, how did I react to you? What was the purpose of your talk? It was to encourage others with their speeches. Whatever speech you have to make, just do it your way. And that way you are more feeling at home in your heart that you are doing it right. Now, was the purpose achieved? Yes, I think it was, and I think it was an interesting talk with us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. One of the things I thought while Alan was speaking that I forgot to mention, when Jim and I went to Bozeman, I realized other clubs have the etiquette of ending a speech with fellow Toastmasters. So instead of saying thank you, as Alan said we should not, you know, if you were someplace else, you might say friends and neighbors. But here we say fellow Toastmasters when we're done, just so if you wonder what to say to let people know that you're done, because no one's getting it, like I almost didn't once or twice today, that's a good thing to say. All right, so while you finish your votes for best evaluator, and if you'd like to vote for table topics and send them down to Virginia, we'll have Mark give us his general evaluation of the meeting from right where he is.
Okey doke. Yeah, well, thank you very much. And would you mind if I sit down? I show my respect by standing up.
Sure.
And then sit down again. So it's a matter of respect to the club. Let's see here. My evaluation of the evaluators, for one thing, I have written down here, and I was going to comment and one of the evaluators, Peggy, on your, on your evaluations. I thought you had, you really had good hand gestures, and I thought you had a good evaluation. And I think your evaluation was encouraging and positive. And Melody, again, I thought you had good hand gestures and good vocal variety and a positive evaluation. And Virginia, you had a good eye contact today, and you have a really nice appearance, and you have a new hairdo, and all I can say is, Virginia, you have the look. And so, yeah, well, I just more or less took notes on the speakers and stuff, which isn't really my, thing to do there. I'm going to run out of time here. I'm so sorry for that.
Let me just ask you a couple of questions
Here,
to
no,
help you
just,
wrap up. May I?
well, yeah, excuse me for sitting down so much. It's up to me now to call for the speech evaluator to prepare their vote case. Well, I was going to ask for the timer's report, I guess.
Very good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
For the speeches, Stacy was a 5 to 7, and her time was 6.54. Alan's was a 4 to 6, and his was 4.07. Rochelle had 5 to 7, and her time was 7.19. Speech evaluators are 1 to 2 minutes. Peggy's evaluation was 1.31. Melody's evaluation was 1.33. And Virginia with the look was 1.29. Table topics, 1 to 2 minutes. Jim was 1 minute exactly, and Donna was at 0.43.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. And, let's see, I've done this. Request for the first speech evaluator's report. We've already done this, so. And, grammarian report and.
That's what you're down to is grammarian report.
Yes, yeah, grammarian report. Oh, okay.
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator. The word germane seemed to be a very popular and germane word for the day. Pete used it 3 times, Alan twice that I heard. Melody used it, and I may have missed somebody else who used it. It was very well and appropriately used, so thank you. I watched for the long O's and those connectors that get utilized as well drawn out phrases. Stacy, work on this. You start your major comments with and very pronounced. Watch that. I love some of the metaphors from today. Those were mentioned earlier. From brick to stick was one. There were some repeats. The other thing that I would care to comment on is, Mark, watch your long delays. We were delayed probably 2 minutes while you were trying to assemble your thoughts. Just go right to the topic and walk your way through it. That concludes my report.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jim.
Well, we're almost out of time, so let's go to Virginia for our results.
Everybody do it. Our best evaluator was chosen as Melody. And our best speaker was Stacy.
All right.
And their best table topics person was Jim.
Congratulations. Is there any quick last minute business that we haven't done, Donna?
No, I don't have anything. Peggy, did you have something?
I thought I was table topics, so put me on for next.
Okay, I'm sorry, thank you. I thought Nancy was table topics and she gave me a message she wouldn't be here. So I messed up. So I will put you on for next time, thank you. Okay, that does it, we're adjourned.
Thank you.
When is our next meeting?
So our next meeting is the second Thursday.
Of, next month,
of
okay.
next month, yeah.
All right. So that's a ways off yet, I guess. Was that 3 weeks now? 2 weeks?